What is going on, everybody? My name is Tom Kelly, and this is Clean Cut Audio. I have a confession to make. I've been gone for a while. Some might even say a couple years, which is way too long. However, today and over the next couple weeks, I wanted to do a couple of videos exploring this podcast studio that I've built in a 9 by 10 foot spare bedroom in my house. I think it is the ultimate compromise of everything you could ever want from a podcast production and recording studio, as well as music production and recording studio, and just a general room you'd like to spend a lot of time in, because my wife knows I spend a whole lot of time in this room. So I'm going to show my gear, why I chose it, the acoustic panels that I built. We're going to do some acoustic tests in the studio and just kind of run through day-to-day operations in the Clean Cut Studios. All right, without further ado, let's do it! First things first, I promise that I haven't been gone for so long that I completely forgot that I'm legally obligated to be wearing my sequin jacket at all times. I promise you I remember. It is just so phenomenally hot in this studio. There are so many tubes running and so many pieces of outboard gear running, and it's 94 degrees outside right now in Asheville, North Carolina. And if I were wearing that jacket, I would be drenched in sweat. So through the summer, I'm taking a no jacket rule. I hope you're all okay with that. I'm just trying to survive out here, guys. But let's get into the studio. There's so many amazing things to look at. This podcasting studio is built within a 1,200 or so square foot house. It's a spare bedroom within the house. The thing to know when you're building any kind of multi-purpose studio, it's going to be compromises everywhere. This space needs to be a great recording booth, an editing bay, a mixing room. It's a freaking film studio. It's got to look good on camera. It's hard to do all of that in one space, let alone a space that was designed to sleep maybe 1 or 2 people. So we're doing a lot in this space that was designed for something completely different. One of the first things you'll notice is all of the acoustic panels on the walls. There are 18 6-inch bass traps in this room that I handmade with the help of Acoustics Insider's course, Build a Better Bass Trap. If you are interested in small room acoustics, I cannot recommend Yesko's YouTube channel, Acoustics Insider, enough. It is such an amazing resource for small room acoustics without being overwhelming and too up its own butt. It's a really approachable resource for small room acoustics. So the frames of all these panels are 7.5 inches deep. There is a 6-inch Roxul Safe and Sound core, and I've got these fabric fronts on them. You'll also notice that some of them have diffuser fronts. There's a very specific reason for this that I'll get into in a later video, but I didn't want the room to be too dry. It needed to have some kind of excitement in here. So that's just diffusing some of the mid-range so that it's not just absolutely absorbing all of those frequencies. The next thing is only really interesting to me, but it is one of my favorite features of this studio, and it is this outlet here with the 2 yellow extension cords plugged in. When I got the Amphion Amp 700 to run my Amphion 118s and the Millennia STT1 channel strip, they were both drawing so much power that it was actually blacking out our house constantly. So I installed a dedicated 20 amp line into this room, and by I mean a qualified professional electrician, so that all of my studio gear is running off of this one outlet, and it is only my studio gear on that outlet. Everything else in this room is on its own separate 15 amp breaker. You may also notice a lot of different lights around the room. There is a lot going on here, and some of that is just for fun, but also a lot of it is for practical purposes. If you look above me, I have ceiling clouds, which are 2 bass traps above my head, and that actually completely covered up the only light that was in this room. And actually the panel directly behind me is covering the light switch, so even before I had the clouds put in, I couldn't turn the light on or off. So I needed other lights to make up for the fact that I was getting rid of the only lighting in my room, and never mind the fact that I covered up the only window in the room with a soundproof window plug and 2 more bass traps. So when you turn the lights off in here, it is absolutely pitch black, which, ooh, I love it. You know I love that. Now, I think there's like 11 different lights and strips and LED stuff all over the place, and I'm not going to be caught like pushing every single one of those buttons. So I have an Amazon Echo hooked up with a ton of different voice commands for different lights to turn on, different series of lights to turn on, and it makes it really, really easy to come in here and just start working without having to hit a bunch of different light switches. And if you have an Echo, I'm going to bleep out the word so that she doesn't turn on and start talking like mine's about to do right now. But anyways, check this out. Turn off the studio bulbs. Turn off the Triforce. Turn on the Triforce. Turn on the center bulbs. Turn on the side bulbs. Turn off the studio. Turn on the cloud. It's really nice to just come in here and say, let's get to work. And what she does is she turns on the vibe, the cloud, the Triforce. It keeps it kind of dark in here because these side bulbs all around the room here get really, really hot. So I try to keep them on as little as possible, but if I need more light, they're there. And it's, I mean, I know this isn't what you came here for in the studio tour, but to me, that kind of stuff is really exciting. Other stuff that I get pretty excited about is all these little knickknacks around the place. I spend a lot of time in this room. Sometimes it's like 12, 15, 16 hours a day. And I really love to be surrounded by things that make me happy. I want this to be a tranquil space that encourages creativity, encourages productivity. And I don't really believe too much in like the zodiac horoscope stuff. But for those of you that do, my wife tells me I've got some big Taurus energy, so that may make sense to some of you, but I'm just surrounded by things that make me happy. You can see there's a Zelda shrine over here. I've got all kinds of stuff, an ocarina that I can play, the songs from the game Ocarina of Time. But just a couple things that make me happy. You've got some stuffed animals, some CGP Grey plushies, Pokemon. I love foxes. There's actually a story about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man that I might do a more in-detail video on all my dumb little knickknacks if you're into that. But speaking of that, I'm a man of comfort. My chair here, it is a Omega, what is it? Yeah, the Omega from Secretlab. It's an amazing gaming chair. It's so comfortable. And I've got underneath my desk a storage ottoman that I kick my feet up on, and I'm just like laying down while I work. It's amazing. Again, long days. I'm trying to be comfortable. My entire studio is run on a 15-inch 2019 MacBook Pro. It is completely maxed out. The biggest video card, the most CPU power, the most RAM that money could buy at the time. And while I'm tempted to get like a Mac Studio and have some of the M1, M2 capabilities, it's so nice to be able to literally take this MacBook Pro out of this little vertical stand. I can have it packed in a backpack in less than 2 minutes and go off to the co-working space where I sometimes work from when I'm doing more like thinking businessy tasks that are hard to do with my family running around here all day. So everything is on a MacBook Pro, and I've got this wonderful, massive monitor. It is a 49-inch Samsung monitor. The pixel density is total garbage, but it doesn't matter because I'm not doing like a ton of very fine video and photo work. But it gives so much real estate for when I'm trying to edit and do multiple other tasks at a time, which is usually what I find myself doing, many things at once. And this massive monitor makes that so easy. So speaking of centerpieces of the studio, I'm running an Apogee Ensemble Thunderbolt interface. Right below it, you actually see its older brother, the Apogee Ensemble Firewire interface, which I used for a very long time. It's like Firewire 400 from 2002 or something. And when I wanted to upgrade, I wanted something that would expand with my needs. So I started off in music production, and while I don't do it professionally anymore, I wanted something that would have the ins and outs to be able to do that. So the Ensemble has, I forget if it's 30 in or 36 in and an equal number out. I mean, it is a massive workhorse that has 8 preamps in it. And if you know anything about Apogee products, they have some of the best ADA converters in the world. So I really love working with this interface because it can grow with my production needs. And the preamps are amazing, 75 decibels of gain. I definitely do want to do a video getting more into the specifics of my gear and why I chose it. But so I'm recording on that right now on a Shure SM7B, obviously no cloud lifter because you don't need it with the Apogee Ensemble. And that is going into a Millennia channel strip. So this is the Millennia STT1 channel strip. So I'm going into the preamp of my Ensemble. It's sending that signal into the Millennia, into the equalizer and the compressor, both on the tube topology with the transformer in. It's going back into the Ensemble to use as converters and recording into Pro Tools. So again, I'll do more on that type of stuff in a later video, but that's my gear in the racks. So I have the Ensembles, I have a Furman power strip, the Millennia STT1, I have a guitar tuner over here, and I have the Amphion Amp 700. So this is running my studio monitors. I could not be happier about the choice to upgrade to Amphion monitors. I bought the Amphion 118s. They are passive studio monitors, so it needs an external amp to run them. And I'll go more into why I went passive again in a later video. But I just kind of bought the whole kit from Amphion. Their own banana clips, which the cables themselves cost more than my first complete pair of monitors did. And I gotta tell you, man, you can tell. You can super tell. Oh gosh, I could just wax poetic about Amphion monitors for hours. I have never heard anything so accurate, but also so exciting and so clear without the hype. A lot of the stuff is more for like music, I guess. Like it has a phenomenal stereo image and the Phantom Center is just like, blah! It's so good. But I had Yamaha HS7s before these, and I could never, ever, ever get something to translate properly on those. My first pair of monitors were the KRK R5, the second generation, back in like 2009. I bought those. Those were even easier for me to work on than the HS7s. I could never get something to sound good outside of my room, which is called translation. It would sound fine in here, but if I took it onto my AirPods, I took it into the car, I took it on the surround sound in the living room, it was just missing everything. It was terrible. So I can never trust my mixes. And that was so phenomenally frustrating. I really, really hated that. So I spent the money on the Amphions, even just for podcasting, right? I mean, this gear in here is a lot, but we do not use the term overkill. It is forbidden on this channel. And I'm so super serious about that. People in podcasting love the word overkill. And I don't fully understand why. I mean, it's there's good and there's bad, and then there's preference. And I prefer to have something that I can trust. And to me, it makes all the difference. My clients, they're some of the biggest podcasts in the world, and they're putting a ton of time and effort and energy and money into their production. And I'm not going to allow myself to throttle that quality by coming through a space with gear that I don't trust. And I do want to stop there because it's easy to think that the conversation is all about the gear. It's absolutely not. I promise you, there is more than one person out there on a Scarlett 2i2 with some broken computer speakers from the early 90s who is making great quality work, who's probably their stuff sounds better than me. It's not about the gear, but I got to tell you, the gear super helps. It eliminates a lot of barriers. So to me, it's worth investing in the high quality gear, but it's totally understandable why someone wouldn't. I get it. I really do get it. Ooh, one last thing. The desk that I have, it is the Platform by Output. This is the cheapest desk by far that I could find that suited all my needs. All of the rack spaces are 3U, which is great because down the road I do want to start building out some lunch boxes, which are 500 series racks that do take 3U of space. And it didn't have this weird thing in the middle that would have made it hard for my screen to fit. So my requirements were a big flat surface. I wanted 3U racks, and I wanted it to be pretty minimal. And Platform really delivered on that. This is a great desk. I did some modifications to it. I took off the modesty panel, which caused some really weird back and forth swaying, so I reinforced it with some steel brackets. I added some hooks down here for my headphones, for my guitar cables. I've got some pretty crazy cable management going on, and you'll actually see on my desk here, there's a big, flat, uninterrupted surface. There's not a lot of cables going through the space because they have these really clever like grommet holes through the desk so that I can have chargers and cables and my Stream Deck plugged in and my Wacom tablet, all these things without having to run cables over the edge, without having them running over my hands. And of course, my favorite modification is actually running an extension cable from my Apogee interface underneath the desk. It's coiled up and it's coming out from below the desk. It keeps it off the desk. It keeps it out of the way. It gives me some more space. It's a really nice little mod, but I love this desk. Yeah, it's especially being a third of the price of most other like studio desks out there. It's really, really amazing. I really love it. So that's it. I mean, there's definitely a lot more to this space. I'm going to do more videos. Please leave a comment below if there's more that you want to know about the space. I'm happy to answer any questions, to dig deeper into anything you want to know. Most of the comments on my videos are turned off because people say some wild stuff in the comments, man, and it can get pretty discouraging. And this isn't like my job professionally to be a YouTuber, so I don't really want to put up with it. But I do know that the overwhelming majority of you are very kind and very pleasant, and I cannot thank you enough for having been so supportive throughout my entire career as an audio engineer working in the podcasting space. I didn't turn the comments off because of you. There's, a big minority of people that just have nothing better to do, I guess. So there's a little explanation on that. But thank you all so much. I'll be back soon. I'm going to do a deep dive on the acoustics in the space. I'm going to do a deeper dive on the gear. Again, I'll show you all my dumb little knickknacks if you want. And maybe I'll show you my guitars too. I've got 3 electrics, an acoustic, and a bass. Some of you might be into guitar. I have a drum set in the closet that is just... there's no space. But anyway, thank you all so much. If there's more stuff that you want, I'm going to be doing more tutorials and walkthroughs and plugin demos and how I mix True Crime Obsessed and how I do all the work that I do for myself and for my clients, my own podcast, and for others. Thank you all so much. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, blah, blah, blah. Love you all. Bye.